After a string of delays, the first Twin Peaks trial got started today.
Opening statements began and the first witness took the stand in the trial of Dallas Bandito Vice President Christopher Jacob Carrizal. Channel 6 News reporter Jasmine Caldwell joins us live from the McLennan County Courthouse with the latest. Hey, Jasmine.
Well, Doug and Leslie, after the 12 jurors were selected, they were immediately taken to the 54th District Court, where this trial finally got started after more than 2 years. Things heated up right after opening statement today. Defense attorney Casey Gotro was upset that the judge allowed law enforcement to remain in the courtroom as expert witnesses. The state called their first witness to the stand. She was a Twin Peaks employee at the time. She shed a few tears as she told the court graphic details of what she saw happen that day.
Slid off his body like he wasn't conscious anymore.
Okay, so not to be graphic, still attached, but
Yes, ma'am.
do you need a second?
Okay.
Okay. You're tearing up a little bit. Was this something hard to remember?
Yes, ma'am.
Christopher Jacob Carrizal is charged with directing the activities of a criminal street gang and 2 counts of engaging in criminal activity. Now, this trial continues tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. I'm told that it will last maybe about 2 to 3 weeks. Reporting live in Waco, Jasmine Caldwell, Channel 6 News.
All right, thanks, Jasmine.
The Twin Peaks trial for Bandito Christopher Carrizal wrapped up at noon today, but not before a key witness took the stand.
The Don Carlos general manager talked about what he saw unfold right across the parking lot from his restaurant. Channel 6 News reporter Jasmine Caldwell was in court this morning where jurors saw some very detailed surveillance video.
Well, Doug and Leslie, Don Carlos sits about 40 feet from Twin Peaks. Today, prosecutors showed minute-by-minute footage from the 16 cameras placed all over Don Carlos. Take a look at these images from May 17th, 2015. At 12:39 p.m., you can see people start to gather outside of the restaurant. They appear to be looking towards the patio at Twin Peaks. Then at 12:41 p.m., you see a guy in a blue shirt as well as others running for cover. And just 1 minute later at 12:42, you see police walk into the frame with their guns drawn. Don Carlos general manager Peter Caldwell said the restaurant was filled with families.
Actually, we have a great lunch, Sunday lunch business.
A lot of folks come in from after church?
They do.
Caldwell said none of the officers were firing their weapons in the video. He also said people eventually started coming from Twin Peaks to Don Carlos for safety. The trial continues Friday at 9 a.m. Reporting in Waco, Jasmine Caldwell, Channel 6 News.
And the jury is expected to hear more testimony from the Don Carlos general manager tomorrow during trial.
Expect more. This is Channel 6 News at 5.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Doug Kerr.
And I'm Leslie Draffin. An officer who opened fire during the Twin Peaks shootout testified in court today that he saved lives by doing so.
And he was one of several officers to take the stand today in the trial for Bandito President Christopher J. Carrizal. Channel 6 News reporter Jasmine Caldwell joins us live from the McLennan County Courthouse with more on another emotional day in court. Hi, Jasmine.
By noon, the jury already heard from 3 witnesses. Judge Matt Johnson said he's trying to move this case along. Now, 2 of those witnesses were Waco police officers. Sergeant Sam Key was one. He carried out search warrants and worked the crime scene at Twin Peaks following the shootout. Officer Michael Bucher was the second officer who testified and was acting as a counter sniper that fateful day. He says prior to the shooting, he was given a briefing on the Banditos and the Cossacks and why the tension between the 2 were so high. He said he and his partner were patrolling the parking lot when a fight broke out. When it did, his first thought was to deploy gas, but then he heard gunshots. He says that's when he grabbed his AR-15 and started shooting.
He was just walking through the crowd with a gun. I mean, he had it up, he was looking. I fired at him. He was somewhere in the middle of the crowd. There was also another man swinging a large chain-looking object at another guy. That guy was retreating and running from him. I did fire at him. And then there was another male subject that was in the middle of the crowd that was firing a gun. We do have some that are issued.
Once the testimony was over, Officer Butcher and his partner started confiscating weapons. They tried to place the ID of each biker on the weapons taken from them. He says due to the number of weapons, that task became too overwhelming. He said under cross-examination, if he could have done anything differently, he would have had a lot more manpower and wore heavier gear. Now, we also heard from a former Twin Peaks employee. She said from what she saw, the first person who was shot was a Cossack. I'll have more on that tonight at 6. Reporting live in Waco, Jasmine Caldwell, Channel 6 News.
All right, thanks, Jasmine. Meanwhile, the grim reality of what happened at Twin Peaks during the biker shootout was made clear to the jury today as the trial for Bandito Jake Carrizal rolled into day 12.
Prosecutors showed video from inside and outside the restaurant after the shooting had ended and the crime scene was still fresh. Channel 6 News reporter Jasmine Caldwell is live at the McLennan County Courthouse and has more on what was a gruesome day on this trial. Jasmine.
Well, Doug and Leslie, the video showed an empty restaurant with dead bodies sprawled out everywhere and blood smeared all over the floor. Now, City of Waco crime scene technician Amber Richardson walked through Twin Peaks shooting video of the scene right after the deadly shootout. It shows everything from bloody bandanas to guns, brass knuckles, and multiple dead bodies that are too gruesome to show on air. Richardson was called to Twin Peaks around 2:30 in the afternoon and was assigned to the patio in interior area of the restaurant.
So basically I just started my camera and I just began walking around through the scene how it was found when I arrived.
Did you make any changes to the scene as you did that initial walkthrough?
No, sir. I did not touch anything. Everything was still, the water was still running.
The defendant, Jake Carrizal, watched stoically as the video played. Earlier today, Waco PD crime scene technician Jennifer Schneider testified about collecting evidence such as rebel riders and Bandito's vest inside of a pickup truck and a Ford F-150 at Twin Peaks. She also collected a number of pistols, shotguns, and ammunition inside those vehicles. Now, Schneider told defense attorney Casey Gotro that it took 4 days to clear the crime scene. I'll have more on what happened during the second half of court tonight at 6. Reporting live in Waco, Jasmine Caldwell, Channel 6 News.
All right, thanks, Jasmine.
Expect more. This is Channel 6 News at 5.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Doug Curran.
And I'm Leslie Draffin.
And at this point in time, I think a mistrial is probably appropriate.
A judge declaring a mistrial in the trial of a leader of the Banditos biker gang after the jury deadlocked on a verdict arising from the deadliest shootout between biker groups in U.S. history.
Judge Matt Johnson, Christopher Jake Carrizal's trial after McLennan County jurors said they were hopelessly deadlocked. They had deliberated for 14 hours.
Channel 6 News reporter Jasmine Caldwell is at the McLennan County Courthouse with the latest. Jasmine.
Well, Doug and Leslie, after nearly 15 hours, the jury said they couldn't come to a unanimous agreement on all 3 charges brought against Christopher Jake Carrizal. That's why Judge Matt Johnson had to call a mistrial. Now, once the decision was announced, Carrizal immediately began to hug his family. The jury told Judge Matt Johnson the numerical split varies on each of the 3 counts. Now, we spoke to a member of the jury who tells us the majority of the jury was leaning towards not guilty on all 3 counts. Carrizal didn't want to go on camera, but his mother shed tears after hearing the decision.
Thank God. Thank God. Thank God. Thank God. Oh my gosh. This is awesome.
At the end of the day, there wasn't enough evidence that the Dallas chapter, and specifically Jake Carrizal, had committed any violence against any person that wasn't self-defense. And so today is a victory.
Now, I just got done speaking to District Attorney Abel Reyna. Coming up tonight at 6, hear why he says he's not giving up on a conviction. Reporting live in Waco, Jasmine Caldwell, Channel 6 News.
And Jasmine, we should also mention that Channel 6 has spoken to a juror from the jury, and they said that the majority was leaning toward not guilty.
Right, on all 3 charges.
Right, and we'll have more on that coming up at 6 o'clock.
Now